All right, another week of SEC baseball. This weekend for Vanderbilt, it's a trip to Athens to play the Georgia Bulldogs, the 19th ranked Georgia Bulldogs, who obviously have rolled through some opponents at home. And Georgia kind of rising to the occasion this season, obviously behind the bat of Charlie Condon. And to preview this weekend's matchup, Anthony Dasher, the managing editor for UGAsports.com, their rival site down there in Athens. Anthony, thanks for checking in. How you doing?
Doing great, Billy.
Let's start with Georgia this year.
Yep.
I don't want to say this came out of nowhere because Georgia was, these last 3 or 4 years have been competitive. I remember a couple years ago, in the top 25, and last time Vanderbilt went to Athens, they really needed that series and they got it. But for this season, what has gone into this season for Georgia? Obviously, there's one certain guy that has helped a lot, but
Yeah.
other than Charlie Condon, what has gone into the season to make it a success for Georgia so far?
Well, there's a lot of brand new faces. Number one, my math is correct. I think Wes Johnson brought in like 17, 18 transfers from last year, plus the incoming freshmen. We're talking about 8 or 9 guys. So almost 30 guys are brand new from last year. In fact, you look around Georgia's starting 9 right now. The only players from Georgia are actually Charlie Condon and Corey Collins, first baseman slash DH slash right fielder for this team. He went out and tried to find some veteran bats. And you look at Georgia's lineup right now; they've got 5 guys on the team with 10 or more home runs. I think actually maybe 12 or more home runs right now. It's a power hitting team. I mean, they brought these players in to kind of fit what Foley Field plays to come springtime, and so far it's been a success. But you mentioned Charlie Condon. I mean, he's been another animal this year. The whole team. What they've done so far just revolves around that guy.
Yeah, let's get into him. And it's interesting. I actually got a chance to watch an interview with him, and he's a part of an SEC family. I think I heard his dad went to Auburn. His mom actually went to Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And wasn't a crazy highly recruited kid. Obviously from Georgia, and has developed into a number 1 overall draft pick. But what have you learned, kind of being around him, talking to him, and what can you tell us about his path to getting here? Because, like I said, I mean, not saying this was a surprise out of nowhere, but for him to emerge and dominate the way he's been dominating, I don't know how many people could have predicted it to this level.
Well, nobody could have predicted to this level. I mean, he was a walk-on at Georgia. I mean, he did not have a single, Power 5 offer. And when he got to Georgia as a true freshman, people ask me all the time, why in the world did he redshirt? Well, he was about 6'5", about 175 pounds. I mean, it was just a beanpole. And by his own admission, he needed that year to get stronger, get in the weight room, and but the ball to bat and bat the ball, skills have always been there. But to play in this league, you've got to have a little muscle to it. He needed to bulk up, and so in the year he spent as a redshirt, he put on about almost 40 pounds. He's a good 215, 220 right now, and 6-foot frame, but it does not have a long swing like you think most tall guys would have. I mean, it's very compact, and he doesn't miss mistakes, and that's pretty much been his story. But and this is going to sound cliche, and you hear this all the time with athletes, but he, as good as a player is, he may be an even better person. If you watch any of his interviews on TV or whatnot, that comes across pretty readily. And but yeah, he's got a chance to be the number 1 pick in the country this year, and 30 home runs right now for Georgia, school record. Career record of home runs. But now I think it's at 54 right now in just 2 seasons. Just an extraordinary player, extraordinary young man.
Yeah, hitting 456, which is maybe even a crazier number than those 30 home runs. But the guys around him, are no slouches either. Corey Collins hitting 370. Paul Tetz, is that how you pronounce it?
Paul Tates, yeah.
Paul Tates is a guy who's up there in batting average.
Purdue transfer.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. So that's the thing with Georgia. I mean, looks like they've got some older transfers that have come in, kind of around Condon, who can really hit the baseball.
No doubt. I mean, Slade Alford, the transfer from Mississippi State, last year for State, hit about 280 in SEC play, but overall he was, was really kind of an afterthought. He wanted a different chance. He's coming to Athens. He's hitting over 300. Has, I think, 12, 14 home runs right now. Dylan Goldstein came from Florida Atlantic, where he hit 18 home runs last year for the Owls. He's coming this year, and I think he's got 12 home runs. Colby Branch was a freshman, all Big 12 for Baylor. He's come in. a little shaky on defense from time to time, but you look at the bat, what he's done. He's got 12 home runs and 3 grand slams this year. Even Fernando Gonzalez, who I think, most Vanderbilt fans probably remember. He's been there a long time at UGA. He's got 7 home runs, hitting in the number 9 hole in the order right now. So it's a lineup that's got some pretty good length. It's not Texas A&M length, but it's got some pretty good length, and the powers we've seen this year. Only school that's rivaled that has been Tennessee.
Yeah, well, speaking of Texas A&M, last weekend's series was interesting. Obviously, Georgia was able to win Game 3 there, which was big. You had obviously the controversy. Nothing's official. Like it.
Yeah.
With what's his last name?
Christian Maragna.
Yeah, Christian Maragna. Obviously, everybody's seen the video now of him and kind of leaning over, or, crouched over in the bullpen. It looked like he was putting something on his glove, and then footage is shown of him kind of feeling his glove, and obviously he went out and shoved in that inning against a couple of the better hitters. What's your read on that? And have you gotten any explanation? Has anybody around you told anything where you go, okay, this was a nothing burger, or maybe there's an issue here?
A few things. I've been covering this league now for 20 something years. This is not the first time I've seen a pitcher, be accused or whatnot of putting something, on his glove. I mean, Vanderbilt had a pitcher itself a couple of weeks ago, if memory serves. But it was, getting back to Christian, it was not a good look. The video that was caught, it's obviously something suspicious. I guess my big question was, throughout this whole thing, why did Coach Schwarzenegger not notice something going on right the mound? They showed him going to his glove. Why didn't he notice? I mean, these coaches are trained on this kind of stuff. We've seen Georgia this year question a Missouri pitcher for supposedly having something on his glove. So every single coach in the conference is aware of that. And that kind of escapes me a little bit why A&M's coach did not kind of notice something if there was something to be seen. As far as Georgia goes, Georgia's had no comment on it. And as we take this right now, I'm getting ready to go to practice. I will ask Coach Johnson again if he has anything to say when I go out there. But I'm not expecting him to say anything again. It was nothing that was caught on the field, so I don't see how you can punish somebody based on a few video clips from somebody in the stands. So, but I'm sure Coach Corbin is as smart as he is going to have a close eye out whenever a Georgia pitcher is on the mound. They'll be having a very close eyeball on kind of what's going on.
Well, it's interesting in that series. I mentioned Georgia was able to get the Game 3 win. Pitching wise, they went with Leighton Finley Game 1, Matthew Hoskins there, and that crazy Game 2 that obviously Georgia ended up going up 9-0, and then ended up getting run ruled, which was a crazy. Which was crazy. But pitching wise, has this rotation been pretty stable, pretty consistent throughout? And what do you expect this weekend? I know here in about an hour, of course, the probables will be released, but even those aren't always perfectly accurate. So what would you expect this weekend for the Bulldogs rotation against Vanderbilt?
Well, Leighton Finley will get the start on Friday. That's pretty much it. I mean, Leighton pitched very well against Texas A&M in the Friday start the other day. Saturday start, you mentioned Matthew Hoskins. He's coming off of Tommy John surgery. They've just been using him as like a one-inning starter for the past 2 weeks, just to kind of get him back acclimated to the game. I do not expect that to be the case, though, for Saturday's game. Charlie Goldstein was suffering from a dead arm that he came down with after the Tennessee series back in late March and missed 3 weekends, and he's just now getting back. I suspect he'll get one of the starts either Saturday or Sunday, and whoever doesn't, whichever day he doesn't start, I'm kind of expecting Colton Smith. Colton Smith, is a sophomore, big arm guy. He struggled early in the year, but the last 10 to 15 innings or so, his ERA is about 0.79 right now. He's really found he's been able to hit all 4 quadrants, and has like twice as many strikeouts as any pitched right now. So he's pitching very well. Bullpen been a little bit shaky. Brian Zeldin, who came in after Hoskins in that game on first game on Saturday, kind of lost it. And that's how that game kind of got away from the Bulldogs. But they've got some decent arms. Mitchell Maragna has pitched very well of late, and they've got some other guys. Joshua Burrs is a transfer who's pitched good. But they don't have the best depth, but they've got enough guys, I think, to get by. But this weekend's rotation, I think, maybe finally kind of what they've been wanting to see all along.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it'll be big. I feel like the pitching's definitely going to play a factor this weekend with the Friday, Saturday, Sunday series. Let me talk, because the thing about Georgia this year is, at home they're a lot better, and a lot of teams are, right. That's the thing about Vanderbilt too. Vanderbilt, Georgia are similar in that way. They may go on the road and it just feels different. Maybe they don't have their mojo. What makes Georgia so good at home, and what aspects of their game improve maybe when they're at home?
Well, they're 23-2 at home right now. I mean, they only games they lost. They lost to Iowa. As far as the only midweek game they lost, and Ole Miss beat them during the last home series. Took one game from them. But I think it's just a comfort level. And I think that's true of every team in the conference. You feel more comfortable, playing in your own place. Pitchers, used to the mound. Your hitters are used to the backdrop. They just feel better about things. I think that's been the case with Georgia. While Georgia's hit decently on the road, I think you look at the home numbers this year. I think this is pretty much true of most every team in the league this year. They're pretty good, and again, with the power lineup that Georgia has, they've been able to work, get a lot of these starting pitchers out pretty early in ball games. That's made a big difference.
Yeah, 10-11 in the conference, 32-12 overall. Again, 6:00 Friday, Vanderbilt and Georgia, 2:00 on Saturday, 1:00 on Sunday. Last thing for you here, Anthony. I know you got to head off to talk to the Georgia coaches and players, but what are you expecting this weekend? Obviously, Georgia needs it. Vanderbilt really needs it, especially after last weekend, that Sunday Game 3 loss to Mississippi State. What are you looking forward to most this weekend, and maybe what are you expecting from the Bulldogs, but also a Vanderbilt team that is going to be playing desperate as well?
Yeah, both teams have so much to play for in this one. I mean, only a game separates them in the league standings right now, and it could be a case where they being able to host a regional, maybe riding on this series. To be quite honest with you, Vanderbilt's pitching, starting pitching especially as a whole, is going to be some of the best that Georgia has seen. So it's going to be up to Georgia's pitchers to kind of, for the most part, pitch like they did, last weekend against A&M. But also, they've got to hit the ball. That's the bottom line. And I'm expecting, three very good ball games. I mean, traditionally, when Vanderbilt comes to Athens, the games are, usually relatively, low scoring, 4 or 5 run, 5-2, 5-3, 5-4 games, something along that nature. And I kind of expect the same thing this weekend.
Yeah, beautiful place to watch a game, Foley Field down there in Athens. I haven't been. I'm not able to make it, but looking forward to getting down there one weekend eventually for a potential Vanderbilt Georgia series. But again, 6:00 Friday, 2:00 Saturday, and then 1:00 on Sunday. All of them on SEC Network. Plus, that's Anthony Dasher from UGAsports.com. Anthony, enjoy the weekend. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, Billy.